Hi there, my name is Toby and this is part 3 of my free course in energy healing. And I'm doing this because I think it's very important work that we can all do. The only qualifications you need to be an energy healer really are a good intention and a calm state of mind. You need a certain amount of humility and respect, because when you do energy healing you've got to respect the energy field of the patient, the other person. So in today's talk, what I'm going to do is take you through the protocols, how you actually go through a healing. Now again, you don't even need to know this. This can all be done with your own personal intuition. But I think this is a good guideline so we can get at least a basic understanding of how the energy works and a simple way of taking someone through a healing. So in the last lecture, I was talking about defense against the dark arts. So the first thing you've got to do is build your own protection. You've got to build a space, a healing space for yourself and the patient. And the idea is for that space to protect from any sort of external energy. You're creating a clear, clean, independent space, an invisible space. And really you're only becoming visible to the highest energy, the purest primordial force coming from the universe and also coming from the earth. And there's two extensions of this energy. One is the purest, highest refinement of energy. We're talking about consciousness, abstract consciousness and awareness. And we also got matter, this physical world, like this crystal here. So this crystal is the most stable form of matter. The crystals have all locked up into a position that they can't move anymore. So this will stay like this forever unless it is heated up or crushed. But otherwise, nothing will affect this crystal. It will just stay like that. You can literally think of this as crystallized consciousness. The most refined, unmanifest energy of consciousness. This has now come down to the most stable, the most manifest, the most physical form of that consciousness, that energy. It's both one and the same energy, and I call this energy ether because of Tesla's physics, and that's a very good word, calling it ether, because it relates to technology as well. It's the same energy required for technology. Or you can call it chi or prana or ki. All the different names people have for it are all good. But it's essentially a living force, a spirit. It's a life force. It's non-physical. There are two aspects to it. There's non-physical, this highly refined spirit, and this physical aspect. So you have a spirit, a soul, and you have a body, a material existence. And in this energy healing, we're treating both of these things. Now, we're not treating the body quite as much as a so-called doctor. We're not doing any physical interventions, but we are still doing one simple little physical intervention, and that is touch. So when you actually touch the body, that is the physical intervention that we are doing. But that's it, nothing more than that. And you can even do a bit of massage, gentle, careful massage, that's also fine. But most of what we're working on is this higher form, the spirit, and the midpoint between the spirit and the matter. This is the energy, the life force energy. So there are three aspects to our being. Let's write it down. We can think of it as the mind, body, and spirit. So here we are. So if this is us here, we can say we have three main energy centers. Up here in the head, this is spirit, or this is our connection to spirit. And then down here in the belly, this is the body, or this is our connection to the body, or a central point of energy for the body. And then we have a middle one here in the heart. And this is the soul, or the mind. And this is the midpoint between the spirit and the body. And this is actually where we are. We are here. You see, it's all one energy. And this is the one energy here, but one extension of the energy moves up to spirit, and the other extension of the energy moves down to body, matter, material existence. But it's still one and the same thing. And what we want to do is create a coherence from the center, the seat of the soul. This is what we need as the healer. We've got to come from the heart. But we're also trying to help the patient to find their coherence, rebalance into their heart. So these are the 3 levels that we're working on when we do the healing protocol. So let's now look at the actual healing process. So you can have your patient lying down, you might have a bed, or they can be sitting in a chair, doesn't matter. But let's just say the patient is lying down. So here's the patient lying down, and they've got a bed here. And I'm the healer here standing at one end, or you're the healer here at one side. Now, the first thing we do is to create the space. So you do that with a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale, and what you're doing, remember, is drawing a bubble. You're creating a bubble of energy around both of you, and you're making sure that bubble is protective, so external energies, all different influences bounce off. They can't get in. So you must have this space first of all. That's the beginning. And then, of course, you're connecting to the energy coming in. So there's the cosmic energy comes in this way, and then there's the earth energy that comes in here. So beneath you is the planet Earth. Here's the Earth. And in the center of the Earth, we're going way, way down to the deep, deep center of the Earth, and we're connecting to that energy. And here in the cosmos, we're going way, way up into the cosmos, and we're connecting to the North Star. The North Star, because that is the central line. The central axis of the Earth spins around the North Star. So when we do this, we're connecting to very high, pure, refined energy, and very deep down, again, pure, refined, but perfect matter. And in the center of the Earth, it could be a giant diamond, a crystal. We don't actually know what's right in the center, but I like that. So you could have a crystal right down here. So you're connecting to pure matter, material, and you're connecting to pure cosmic energy, pure consciousness. And of course, this does go way beyond the North Star, but you focus on the North Star to get this axis, the axis that connects to your own energy axis. So now you've got the beginning. Now, how do you start the healing? Well, the way I start off, remember, you've got the body, mind, and the spirit. So I start off on the body, something easy. So I start by maybe just laying hands here on the shoulders. So if the patient is lying down, I come to the shoulders and lay the hands. So I'm actually touching the patient. So first of all, you're establishing trust. You're making contact, you're letting the patient relax, lie down on the bed, and you're just doing some deep breathing, letting your hands rest on the shoulders. But you can also, depending on your feeling, you can also start on the feet or the ankles. Rest the hands on the ankles, and this will ground the patient even more if you're holding down this side. Or again, you could even put your hand, rest it very carefully on the forehead of the patient. But you're just making very light, gentle contact. So this is connecting to the body first of all, and you're helping the patient ground themselves into their body, because they'll feel this touch. They're feeling something. So that's the level 1. That's the first beginning stage, just grounding, connecting, and building a little bit of trust by making contact. And then from there, you gradually move up into the energy and finally up into the spirit. And then we're going to work our way back down again. So you'll also end the healing in the same way, with a final bit of contact. So when you feel like you've made this and the patient is relaxed and you feel like you're ready to move on, then you take the hands away. So now you're not in contact anymore. And now you're on level 2. So level 1 is the body, and that is touching the skin. Level 2 is the energy or the aura. So that is just a bit outside. It's a bit outside the person, but it's still a physical area. It's a certain amount of distance away from the patient. And now what you're doing is just feeling that energy, feeling that aura. And what you're doing, when I used to teach this, one of the times I taught this many years ago, haven't actually done a physical lecture for a long time, but many years ago I taught this, and I used to call this palm lens healing. In other words, my hand is like a lens. If you have a magnifying glass, you've got a magnifying glass like this, and there's the sun, and if the sun shines and hits a magnifying glass, what happens is it magnifies the light into a point and it amplifies it. So the sun is doing the work, but there's a magnifying glass focusing it. So your hands are like the magnifying glass. So you have your hand here projecting energy, but what you're doing, that energy comes way from the cosmos to your hand, and then from your hand it projects in. So it's not even going into your body. You have your own connection here happening, but that is your energy. You're just now sort of focusing ambient energy through your hands directly into the patient. And the intention should be that you're just helping the patient get back their own energy. You see, this living being here knows what its energy is. It knows what it needs. You're just assisting that. The energy that your patient needs comes from the sun. It comes from the cosmos. You're just helping to focus it and get it to them like a magnifying glass. So your hands are a lens, palm lens healing. So you work your way around the body, doing what you feel. Even if just like this, projecting your palms towards the patient. And you're sensitive to it. You're sort of feeling, what do you feel like doing? I feel like going to the side now. All right, I go to the side. And you just empty your mind, relax, tuning into energy, feeling or even imagining energy is around. I'm focusing the energy. It comes to the back of my palm, and then from my back of the palm, it comes out to the front of the palm. I'm focusing it through like this. So you're just feeling that you're focusing the energy into the patient. And you might adjust the distance. You might do little movements. See, again, energy tends to spin. It tends to be a vortex of energy. This is how it works. It works in vortexes, spirals inwards. And this is, of course, a golden ratio spiral, Fibonacci spiral. It's very, very important mathematics. But that's how the energy tends to work. So you can also move your hands in circles, in spirals, in and out. You do as you feel. Imagine you're just doing a bit of spontaneous Qigong exercises with your breathing. And you're tuning into the energy in this space, and you're just trying to harmonize the whole energy in this space. And you're doing whatever movements that you feel like you need to do to build a balance and a harmony in this space. And in particular, you're focusing it towards the patient. So this is level 2, working on the energy field. And after you've done that for a little while, you'll be more tuned in. You'll feel yourself tune in. And it's not about thinking, it's about feeling. Trying to touch your intuition. Your intuition will say, well, you just say, oh, my hand wants to go up, I'll go up, okay. You don't know why your hand got up there. You don't have to understand what is happening. This is key. This is not about thinking, it's about feeling, intuition. So don't have to understand it, you just do it. Let it happen through you. So as I said, once you've done that for a little while, so first is touch, that's the body. The second is moving the energy, so that's the energy or the soul. Let's call that the energy, the soul, or the mind. That's that level. And then the third level is a bit further out, the spirit. So now you could be even a bit further away from the patient. Now at this level is more like a deeper meditation. So now you see you're talking, we're dealing with 3 different levels of energy, and spirit is the most refined energy, pure consciousness. This is quite abstract. This is information. This is information. This is programming. This is mathematics. And ultimately, when people do psychic readings, they try and tell you something about yourself. They are sharing information that they pick up from spirit. But that information should be healing information. If you're going to say anything to your patient, I'll come to that later, it's got to be, you say words that are healing. Now, that's difficult to understand what that means, and again, you have to use your pure intuition. But I would suggest you don't need to say any words. You're just channeling pure abstract information, and you're doing it through movement. You're doing it through energy patterns. So at further distance here, it's not so much just pulsing energy. Now, you might move your hands around a bit. You actually might be doing something. Now, Reiki is very famous. One of the most famous energy healings is Reiki, and they're using symbols. They learn particular symbols, and they will draw these symbols in the air, magical symbols. And the idea of that is you're transmitting an information as you draw the symbol. And that information is affecting the energy. It's in the spirit, but that spirit affects the energy field, and the energy field affects the body. So you're now at the level of spirit is you're transmitting healing information, programming, and you're doing it through a bit more movements. But you don't know what they are. So again, I could teach you the different Reiki symbols and you can go and learn them and find them out. But ultimately it's got to be spontaneous. This information is infinite. You don't know what that information has got to be for that patient. All you can do is allow your body to be a transmitter of that information. In other words, if I were to do it through the camera now to you guys, transmit some information through movement of my hand, I don't know what that information will be, but I'm allowing information to come through my hand, transmit as movement, programming. So information is programming. It's non-physical. A computer is physical. It's got a physical hard drive that can store information, but the information itself, we have to type it into the computer. It's abstract. It's not physical. So the unphysical, non-physical information is coming through me. I'm transmitting it physically through movements. And that physical transmission is going through the camera into your eyes. You're seeing the movements. That programming is now is being, what do you call it, interpreted by you and working backwards to affect your spirit, to affect your energy field, to affect your body. So that's how it works. And the information doesn't actually have to only be movement. It can also be sound. You can use sound. So at this point, you could even use a little bell, for example, pleasant, nice sounds, or you can even do your own chanting. So this is moving into shamanic healing. I'm going to do a whole session talking about that a bit more. But you might have the feeling to do a little bit of chanting. Whatever you feel. Because sound itself is another transmitter of information. It's a changing frequency of vibrations. That is information. So you're transmitting information from the spirit through this higher levels of movement or sound. That's affecting the energy field, which is affecting the body. So that's the higher level of the healing, working on the spirit. And at that point as well, your chances are you've moved into a much deeper state of meditation, a relaxed state, and you might see images, feel images, get information coming to you, but you don't need to judge them. It doesn't matter what you see, feel or hear. You just allow yourself to let it happen, observe it. Remember, it's not about thinking, it's not about judgment, it's just about transmission. And then, so this is the pinnacle peak of the healing process. And then you work your way backwards. And you'll feel it. Okay, that's enough now. I've done what I've got to do. Then you come back a bit closer. So as you come back a bit closer, the hands come back to just gently transmitting energy. Warmth, heat. And you could just visualize energy, building energy, strength, strong energy. So it's different. Now I'm just pumping energy out to the camera. It's just straight up energy. So that's back to number 2. So now you're moving in closer again. And now you might feel at this level of energy, now something else has happened. It will feel different. Now at this point as well, you can also do three ways. The head is the spirit. The heart here, the heart is the soul, the mind. And of course the belly down here, or the feet, is the body. So you can be at different positions of the patient, either at the head, you're working on the spirit, at the heart, you're working on the energy, the soul, and the body, the belly or the feet, you're working on the body itself. You're grounding the energy into the skeleton, into the internal organs, into the blood, into the lymphatic system, right deep into the body, into the bones, really deep in the bones, the bone marrow. So you're using the refined energy, condensing it down into matter. And you can also visualize this energy as light. You see, a lot of this is light, especially in the spirit world, there's transmission of light. You're shining light, there's bright light shining down. And you can be transmitting different colored lights, it depends what you feel. So again, we know the rainbow of light. Red light is towards the bottom, violet light is towards the top. But that's just a guideline. Again, there is no fixed hard and fast rules. Red light is everywhere, violet light is everywhere, all the light is everywhere. It's just what you're feeling. So then after you've come back to do the body once more, then finally you come closer again to end the healing. And when you end the healing, you come back to making contact. Now, before you make contact, very important, because the patient must trust you, they're in a deep state of relaxation now. You actually got to verbalize it. You've got to make a very slight, okay, we're coming, very quietly you say it, we're coming to the end of the healing now. I'm just going to place my hands on your body again. So you give them a warning before you touch, and then you touch ever so slowly, ever so carefully. And what you're trying to do is finally balance the spirit, the soul and the body of your patient. So you could be side on to your patient. You can have one hand on the forehead like this. You can put one hand on the heart like this, the chest. Or you can have one hand on the forehead, one hand on the belly like this, again balancing. Or you can have one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. You see? So you can balance the patient just by gently touching those 3 energy centers. But remember, you've got to be ever so respectful, ever so careful when you do this now, because you've done the work, you want to let that settle. And when you finally do that, what you're doing is now condensing all the work that you've done, all this energy you've done, you're condensing it into your patient, into their body. So you're making sure now all the work is sinking into the body, and you're setting it. You're setting it. You can imagine it like clay. You've got the clay in the shape you want. Now you've got to fire the clay so now it becomes solid. So at this point, all the changes that you've made to the energy, you want them to stay there. You don't want the patient to just get up, leave, and then they've gone back to what they were. So you're trying to get that to set in the body, and you'll feel it. After a little while, you feel, okay, that's good. The patient is centered, they're grounded, and you might finally come to touch the ankles. That's what I often do. I might start at the shoulders, but at the end, I just hold the ankles. So it's very pleasant for the patient to have that contact at the feet or the ankles, and it grounds them right down to the feet. And then you might finally end with a little ringing of a bell or something, just to symbolize the end of the session, and it just cleanses the whole energy. And then you let the patient relax for themselves, give them a few minutes to just take some deep breaths, sit up when they're ready, and give them a little glass of water or a glass of warm tea or something. I would suggest water. Now water you can have, so I've got a magnet here, there's a crystal here, but you can make structured water. So you have a nice glass of water. If you've got a crystal glass, even better, or a copper cup, you can have it resting on a magnet, and that will energize the water, or a crystal will energize it. But since you've done the healing, what you do is you hold the glass of water for the patient, and you yourself heal the water. You're still in that state of healing. So you take one hand, reach up to the cosmos, imagine you're connecting to the energy, then you bring the hand down just towards the glass, and you send the energy into the water. And you'll feel it like the water is filled with bright light, shining light. And you'll feel it, water is ready now. You'll feel there's a power in the water. You've charged up, you've structured the water. Once you've done that, then you let the patient have it. And then they drink the water to wake up. But that water is part of the healing. That water is part of the healing. And it grounds it all down into the belly. So when they swallow the water, they're also swallowing all the energy down to their belly, the center of your energy, your physical energy, the chi in your body. So these are the basic protocols that we do, or I do, in a healing session that I'm suggesting. And they're pretty universal. And I think they're very good because they're cautious, they're respectful, they're humble, and you can't really go wrong if you follow this protocol. I mean, the only way you can really go wrong with an energy healing is if you're not conscientious, you're all over the place, you don't really care, and you open up the patient and just let them go off like that without settling them, or you tell them information. So this is again at the end, they may ask you, "What did you hear anything? Did you see anything?" Now you've got to be very careful what you tell them. You just say, "Yeah, I had a nice experience, I felt the energy, I felt the balance, and it all worked very well." So you always tell them something positive, because that is part of the healing. Remember, information is part of the healing. But be very careful you don't give diagnosis. Don't say, "Oh, I saw this wrong with you, and now we're working on that," because you're bringing them down again. You don't bring them down again. You don't need diagnosis for this. Diagnosis is after the effect. You're going way before the effect. What you're doing now is essentially affecting the diagnosis of the future. So there's no point diagnosing what you've got now, because we're moving towards the future, healing. So whatever they say, if they ask you, have I got this wrong? Did you notice this about me? And you could just say, well, I did feel energy change. Yeah, I felt the energy change, and I do feel now you're a lot calmer, you're a lot more balanced. And I think we did well, you know. How do you feel? You ask them, how do you feel? What did you experience? They may tell you what they experienced. And again, be very careful how you diagnose that, because whatever happens in the spirit world is abstract. It's a dream. It's all in the dream. And the dream is not reality. Reality is here in the crystal. This is manifest reality, the physical world. In the most refined energy and information, there's also imagination is up there. That's infinite. And what is in imagination does not translate always to what is in reality. There is a particular mathematics required to translate information, pure imagination, into reality. That is the mathematics of the golden ratio. So I'll talk about that in my other lectures. But the point being is, when you have a discussion about your experience, you're really talking about the dream, a shared dream that you both had. And you've got to look at it as a positive change in energy. You've rebalanced the patient and you've rebalanced yourself. You've both benefited from it. And it's very, very interesting. You have some quite amazing experiences sometimes in these healing sessions. And we'll talk more about that in later talks in the series as well. But I hope this made sense. This is the basic healing protocols. Thank you so much for watching. Please do go back and look at the previous parts of the series, because they all lead up to this one, and stay tuned for the next one coming very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again in any of these other videos here.